That which is cosmic awareness is available and greets one and all at this, the last teleconference gathering before the end of the year of 2018. It indeed has been a very important year, a very active year. And many of you who have been following the events that have been unfolding throughout the year, especially those events in the country of the United States of America, would say that much has indeed occurred, and yet many would also say nothing has happened. That this awareness would take you all now back 6 years to an event that occurred in the year of 2012, that which is the Ascension event that so many anticipated on December 21st, 2012. That indeed an event of great magnitude occurred, but because it did not exhibit itself, strictly speaking, in the physical, the transformation did not occur that many had hoped, where they had anticipated that they would become fifth-dimensional beings on a newly installed planet, quite different from the old planet. Many at that time were greatly disappointed, and also at that time expressed that belief that nothing had happened. Yet much did happen on that occasion, whether you were in the North Hemisphere or the South Hemisphere. That a crack opened, and the door was pulled slightly ajar. The door to a more direct flow with Source and with Spirit. It was indeed a very important cosmic event, for enough had gathered on the planet who believed something would happen. That it did not quite happen as expected is part of what occurs often when one takes a leap of faith and then it seems nothing happens. But this would be erroneous. This is in error. For in that opening of the door, the energies of the divine itself began to flow into the realm of the third-dimensional realities of experience that exhibit for most the state of reality, your own personal state of reality. And although many did not see actual physical events that indicated that a great shift had occurred, many did feel something had shifted or altered. But in the matter of faith and trust that it is so, that something happened, those who had just the slightest inkling needed to put this to bed, if you will, so that it could come forward in greater strength with time. At that time, this awareness did express that something of great magnitude did happen. At that time, this awareness spoke also of the importance of a 9-month period of gestation from December 21st, 2012 till September 21st, 2013. As you are all aware, that the human embryo takes 9 months approximately to develop from the original seed and egg to that which is the full-blown fetus, embryo, child waiting to be born, waiting to go through the last gateway and to enter into the physical. And that it is a time where much happens, but it could be said that much is unseen, for much that is happening is within the womb of the mother bearing the child. And yet, after that period of time is completed, after the 9 months are completed, a child is born. Each child coming by choice. Each individual, a focused personality of the soul that is expressing itself in this physical realm. Much is involved for this process to occur. For that which is one's spiritual state is an expansive state indeed. To fit into a human body requires a type of process that allows the spirit to condense itself, to, in a way, make itself smaller and denser, so that it can actually enter into this human body that is about to be born. But all do it. It is part of that process of the 7 gateways this awareness has spoken of in the past, and how each gateway, if you will, represents a further condensing of the spiritual material into that which will fit into the human body. Why is this of importance? It is of importance because it actually then explains how it is that which is infinite can be made finite, can enter then into this realm that is known as the physical reality of third dimension. That, curiously, even though there is a condensing of the soul, that which is the focused personality, at the same time, this personality is still far greater than the body. And although it is housed in the body during that period of time, which is the waking state when one is physically awake, at night or when there are times of rest or meditation, that soul can still expand outside of the body, beyond the body, and travel. That this is all part of the miracle of your being, that even though you might identify with the body and all things physical, you are certainly more than just the body. You are the soul expressing itself through this body and through this focused personality. And that there are certain cycles that occur that allow you to have experiences throughout the existence in that focused personality, throughout that life of the focused personality. There are, for example, the experiences of the child, a wondrous time, a time of innocence and magic. For most, this becomes controlled as the child enters school and enters the socialization process. In some, you would say this begins immediately upon birth as one enters a smaller social unit known as the family, and that child is taught how to act in the culture of that family and of that nation. But all children have a degree of innocence to them, trust and faith. In a manner of speaking, one can understand that the time of the childhood for each of you is that time where you have so recently arrived from the realm of spirit into this physical body, and that while you are here to have an experience at another level, you cannot be contained as that innocent, joyful expression of the divine source itself. And that is why children are held in such esteem and such importance. For they remind the adults who they are and where they come from. Although this may be unconscious for most, still it is so that children are honored, and children are loved, and children are held at the highest level by those who are the adults. And yet this is something that is often forgotten, and it is part of the state of affairs on this planet at this time, that the sanctity and the magic that is the child has been abused terribly. It is not the purpose and point of this awareness to speak on this too specifically at this time. It would rather focus on the fact that the child is magical, and that if the child is magical, then by extension each human being is magical. And at this time of year, that which is known as the Christmas time for you, that this is a time of the honoring of the child and the innocence of the child. That if you would remember your own childhood, most, but unfortunately not all, will have strong magical memories of their childhood in a time when they still believed in magic, when they still believed a fat, jolly man could come down the chimney and leave amazing gifts behind. Is this not pure magic? As you come into this period of time, remember that there is a reason why this belief exists. It is there to help you remember that you are magical and you belong to a high spirit that is of the greatest importance, that is suppressed during a lifetime by most, that is not allowed to be the child in its innocence and trust, but rather must become the adult, which is controlled and constrained by certain ones with authority and power. But this is shifting, this is changing. That this awareness now goes back to its discussion a moment ago of how this is the 6th year since the Ascension event of 2012. At that time, many humans had a similar sense of anticipation and uncontained joy towards an event that they believed would bring them a great change and great reward, that being what could be loosely called as the Ascension event, and that many were somewhat disappointed that it did not happen to the full extent of their expectation. This would be equivalent to the child who wanted a special toy, but it was not under the tree on Christmas Day. And still, it is not saying that no gifts were delivered on that day. Many were, especially the cosmic opening to the divine source itself. And that sometimes what is needed is to be able to go beyond the disappointment of what did not happen, and rather to remain in that energy of the magic and the trust and the faith that something very important and very magical did happen, as it did on that day. And now you come to the 6th anniversary of that day, and that this awareness would say to you all, remember on that day, on the 21st, and carrying it on to the season of Christmas itself, the 24th and 25th of December. Remember that the magic actually is contained within you, and that you hold it strongly, just as the child holds it, and that you are all honored by this awareness and by Source itself, as being the children of spirit that have come into the realm of the physical at this very critical time, through your intent and through your choice, to be part of the magical unfolding of consciousness that is underway. As you look back to that event 6 years ago, you will realize it is your own decision as to how you held the energies at that time. And that while many may have been disappointed and others may have been excited about what occurred, that 6 years have passed since then. That you can now look back in hindsight and can truly see how much has changed, how different it is on the planet now, 6 years later. That you will agree, no doubt, that so much has occurred in the last 6 years, even in this last year, this very exciting and entertaining year on the planet, and especially in the nation of America. And yet it is not complete, it is not done. In some ways, this awareness can say that by the way of cycles, this is the 6th cycling of the energies of that moment in time. But it is not the complete cycle. That the complete cycle would be a 9-year cycle. And this means that there are still 3 years to go for that which started on the 21st of December 2012, still has more ahead. And yet, do not worry about this. Hold that it will unfold as it is naturally meant to do. What you can achieve is that you understand and know that you are the flow of the divine essence and spirit that is unraveling itself onto the planet, that is exhibiting and presenting itself to humanity. And that while events and circumstances play themselves out, and while it may be so, the year ahead, the year of 2019, may be a very significant one, it is still part of a grander cycle, and that grander cycle is part, indeed, of an even grander cycle. And it is all the intent and purpose of the divine source itself, expressing itself once again upon this planet, awakening the children of spirit, awakening you, each of you, to the highest calling of your own being, the trust, the innocence of the child, the magic of spirit. All of this is unfolding. And as you pass through these times, as you walk from point A to point B in your lives, remember that you are moving forward. Always you are moving forward. And that as you look at these events, stop being the cynical one who cannot see it in that positive light, in that air of trust and innocence, but rather shift to the child and the memories of your childhood and the knowledge that children are here to show us the way, and that we, the adults, then are here to guide them and to protect them. This awareness includes itself in the we are here to guide and protect, for that too is the function of this awareness, to protect you, to guide you, to send to you the energies of the divine source and of this awareness. It is the greatest gift. It is the gift of the heart that always gives, that this awareness sends to one and all, at this time of the season and year, but at every moment and throughout the year as well. And that to remember this and to call for this is your divine right, as beings of the greatest importance, as beings of spirit itself, that have chosen to come here at this time, this very critical time in the unfolding of the history of humanity. To know that because you have chosen to be here, that even though you may be going through many challenges of the physical, the aches, the pains, the fatigue, the depression of having to be on this dense, low-grade, energetic level that so many hold, that it is still so that you have chosen to be here, and you have not been abandoned, you have not been left in the cold, alone and afraid, that the light of the divine source and the love of spirit are with you always. It is in your heart, it is in your being, and as you awaken more and more to the realization that this is so, it will allow you to step beyond that level that was once the accepted level of who you were or who you thought you were, to a new being that is still in the birth process, who is still developing as a being of the greatest height and depth and breadth of spirit itself, expressing through you and expressing through your lives. Therefore, at this wonderful time of the year, when the light is returning back in the northern hemisphere, that is the solstice event, Or equally in the southern hemisphere, when it is the opposite, rather the sun going through the cycle where it will shorten, that both north and south are uniting now, and both solstices and both cycles are coming to completion to carry you forward into the birth of the new year at this time. And that as you do this and as you step into the new year, make your wishes, hold your intent. Remember what this awareness has said today, that you are the children of Spirit. You are divine, you are blessed, and you are sacred. Hold this within yourself, and even though the events of the year ahead may be turbulent ones, and great change may happen, that if you hold on to the sacred knowledge of your own being, that you will ferry across these troubled waters and arrive at the distant shore. And it is there, it is ahead, and it is yours to attain. That this awareness is complete in its opening message.